If you've ever wondered why you keep attracting the same drama or why things seem to slip through your fingers, right? If you notice that all your relationships end the same way, this is why. This is why. This was one of the big reasons when I had my epiphany, when I had my red pilling. I didn't get red pilled after my divorce. It wasn't the family court system that really red pilled me. A lot of guys in the space, it's divorce that leads them to the red pill, and just the bone crusher that is the family court system, right? Like that wasn't fun. I never want to do that again, right? That was the worst experience of my life, going through that and just that uncertainty and like, am I ever going to see my kids again and all that kind of stuff is scary. It's the whole thing's scary, and I do not recommend. 0 stars. Do not recommend. But that wasn't what red pilled me. I still sort of, I still believe in that men and women can have happy relationships, right? I just don't think you need to get the government involved anymore. So that was just a learning experience, right? But it wasn't until after Red Pill Chick that I really had that epiphany of, man, like the two biggest relationships in my life failed, and I can't keep chicks, around more than 2 or 3 dates. What am I doing wrong? I'm clearly doing something wrong with women here. What is it? And that's what led me to the self-reflection and realizing that a lot of it was my frame and, me for my marriage, it was being overweight and out of shape. For Red Pill Chick, it was being complacent and lazy. I had all that stuff with the marriage too, but that's what did it for Red Pill Chick. And then in both relationships, I had no emotional control. I was the common denominator. You see? All right. I got a story for you. Imagine just for a moment that you find yourself standing at the edge of a quiet field. You sense a gentle breeze on your skin, feel the earth beneath your feet. As you take a slow breath in, you notice two shapes ahead: a tall, slender reed, and not far away, a sprawling oak, its roots deep in the ground. You might begin to notice how the wind picks up, softly at first, then gathering strength, the reed bends easily, almost touching the ground, dancing with the current, as if it wants to please the wind. To avoid the force pressing against it, it gives again and again, and you can almost feel what it's like to be that reed, flexible, accommodating, always adjusting, always on edge for the next gust. And as you allow your attention to rest on the oak, you realize something shifts. The wind moves, but the oak is unshaken. Its trunk, it's strong, and silent. It stands firm. You can almost feel the steadiness, unmoving, grounded, deep below, roots stretched outward, grasping the earth, unseen, but always supporting, always there. No matter how the world above changes, the oak endures. Now notice what happens when the storm truly arrives. The sky darkens, rain falls in sheets, the wind howls. The reed, always worn down from constant yielding, finally snaps, uprooted and swept away. But the oak, even as its branches shudder, perhaps even loses a limb, but its core stays unbroken, its roots untouched, its presence somehow more powerful for having faced the storm. And as the storm passes, something wonderful unfolds. The clouds part. The sunlight returns gentle and warm. The oak stands alone, the only thing unchanged in a field of broken reeds. In that stillness, birds return to perch on its branches. People are drawn to its shade, its sense of safety, the feeling of strength that simply is. If you allow yourself to imagine, you might see how life often mirrors this scene. Sometimes you feel like that reed, tossed by circumstances, swayed by emotions, by other people's moods, never quite sure where you stand. Maybe you've been caught in a cycle of trying to adapt, trying to be liked, always searching for solid ground. Perhaps you've even wished deep inside to be more like that oak, calm, centered, unmoved in the chaos. What most never realize is that the oak's secret isn't what you see above the surface, but what's hidden below. The roots, years of patient growth, quiet strength, habit and beliefs nourished in the darkness. The oak doesn't just appear strong. It's been growing that way, little by little, every day, shaping a foundation that storms cannot touch. Now you might start to wonder, almost without meaning to, what it would feel like to live with that kind of stability, to walk into any room, any situation, knowing deep down that nothing can shake you, that even when challenges appear, you have roots that keep you steady. The world may swirl around you, but you remain calm, confident, attractive in a way that draws others naturally. As you listen, as you reflect, you may find yourself becoming more curious about how to nurture those roots within yourself, how to let go of old patterns, old doubts, and begin to build an inner world so strong that nothing outside can pull you off center. There is a way to start this process, a way that goes beyond surface advice or quick fixes, a path that leads to lasting change, to the kind of presence that people notice without you having to say a word. Somewhere inside, you know it's possible. You can almost see yourself as that oak, grounded, unmoved by the drama, radiating a quiet strength that invites respect, trust, and even admiration. You may not know exactly how to begin, but you're aware that the first step is choosing a new way of understanding yourself and your emotions, a new psychology, a new paradigm. And as you let that idea settle, you realize that the answers, the tools, the practices, the perspective are waiting for you, ready to be rediscovered in the pages of a book I created for this very purpose, Psychology Paradigm. It's not just information, it's a guide, a set of seeds you can plant in your own life that will take root and grow, shaping you into someone who remains unmovable, magnetic, and truly free. So as you sit with this story, perhaps noticing a calm curiosity rising inside you, you might find yourself already wondering what it would be like to turn the next page, to see what's possible, and to begin growing your roots today. Some common mistakes men make when trying to fix this alone. One, searching endlessly for the next secret, moving from tip to tip, but never committing long enough to see true growth. Does that sound familiar at all? Focusing only on surface level tactics, hoping quick tricks will somehow lead to lasting confidence. This is what was a problem with the pickup artists in the early 2000s, right? They were all geeks with techniques, right? They had cool tricks and gimmicks to get chicks to sleep with them quickly, but they could never keep chicks around, right? And if you ever read the book The Game, that's one of the biggest takeaways from the game is all these guys were able to get chicks to sleep with them quickly, but they couldn't keep chicks around and they were miserable, right? They ignore the deeper hidden patterns beneath their emotional reactions, believing that willpower alone can override old programming. Doesn't work. They overanalyze every interaction instead of building the core stability that makes overthinking unnecessary. Are you an overthinker? I know at least several guys in Wolfpack that are total overthinkers. They're working on it, all right? They're working on it, but they are total overthinkers, trying to mimic what seems to work for others while never developing a unique, authentic presence rooted in their own values. You know, one of the core messages of the podcast has always been my holy trinity of dating books, right? It's always been How to Be a 3% Man, Atomic Attraction, and Dating Essentials for Men. Those are my holy trinity of dating books. And the reason why I had three was because there were certain things in the different books that didn't work. Like this book worked better than this book in certain circumstances, right? And so I had to find what worked for me by going out and testing this stuff. And that's what I invite you to do, right? Don't just take what I say on this podcast at face value. Like go out and try some of this stuff that I talk about for yourself. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to work for you, right? It's going to work great. And you're going to like, man, Paul's podcast is amazing, right? And there's just going to be certain things that I talk about and you just can't do it the way I do it. And so it won't feel right to you. And so something else might work better, right? But you have to go out and find what works best for you and apply it.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.